Well, good morning. Welcome to another week. Hopefully you were able to kind of work through last week's lesson on proportional relationships and be able to, find those constant of proportionality as you work through those tables of information. This week is just going to be a part two. I think there's a kind of another side to this, and this is not only looking for the constant of proportionality, but be able to create an equation on a proportional relationship from a table of information. So your learning target, again, with confidence, is the goal at the end of this lesson is to say I can create an equation on a proportional relationship from a table. So sometimes the constant of proportionality, we can kind of see that through the table, but sometimes making an equation will kind of help us find, data that's not on the table that, we may need down the road, or we may have a scenario where it says, what if we have this many hours or this many things? We can use that equation, the input and the output, to be able to come up with an answer. Instead of drawing more tables and, kind of going that route, we can use an equation. So the engage section, why would an equation help me find a proportional relationship? And again, be honest, be detailed. Just give me what you're thinking, even if it's like, I don't know, just kind of put something down here. And we need to get in the habit of maybe not just putting, I don't know, or just kind of when you read it, what's your mind thinking, and just put it down. And it can be anything, because honestly, you might be closer than you think. And we kind of go that route. So don't be afraid to put something down. Why would this equation kind of help me with a proportional relationship from a table of information? And just like any explore section, I do put a video. It's a Khan Academy video that's going to have practice and kind of more examples on how to write these equations from given tables. And then if you go to the do section, there'll be some practice problems that relate to that video on writing proportional equations from that table. And the resource that I shared here, if you can see this, what I want to show you from here is this equation of y equals 3x. And when we look at that, we know that the y is the output and the x is the input. And we have already learned that through the last couple lessons that we've talked about, and how we can use this equation. And the 3 that we find, all right, is what we call the constant, or again, that constant of proportionality. And that's the number that does not change, right? That's the number that's kind of the pattern from x to y as we move down the table. But here's the thing. If I look at this table of information and I have 1, 2, 3, what if I skip to like 10? All right, instead of writing, the equation table lower and trying to put 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, what we can do is, since we know the constant and we say the input is 10, we can just plug 10 in for x and get what y would be based off an equation. Now, this is kind of a simpler one, but if we get to more rigorous tables of information or things that look like this, these equations kind of come in handy, all right? So what we say is this equation is an input-output, just like we've been talking about, but we kind of put it in the context of y equals and kx. And that k, and we kind of see it through here, is that k is a constant. So even though constant starts with a c, just imagine k is constant. So y equals kx is going to kind of be that equation that we go from, and the k is going to be that constant, or that pattern that you find between the things here. Now, we also can use this equation to find what we say. We can find the k. And with that k, sometimes it's hard to find. It's kind of hard to find the k. So what if it's very hard to find the pattern in a table? And sometimes when we look at the table, we're like, how do we do that? It's going to kind of be hard for me to do that. How do we approach it? Well, we can use the equation, just like we said, y equals kx. And that k is, again, that constant in proportionality. How is 1 getting to 3 and how is 2 getting to 6? Now, again, this table is simple, but what if we get a harder table? What we can do is we can plug a y in and say we'll use 3 equals k times 1, right? Because x is 1. And how we do this is, if we have k times 1 is 1, all right, just like any number, we're going to divide by that 1 and get k equals 3. So that ends up being your constant of proportionality, or your constant, your k, and that's going to help us find future numbers in the table, that we need to find through a given scenario. So not only can we find different numbers, the equation can help us find the constant maybe more efficiently or quicker. Instead of sitting there trying to find a pattern, which some of us do struggle with, this equation kind of helps us do that. So we're always going to kind of look at this y equals kx equation. There's an input that's going to give us an output, but we also can use it to find that constant or that pattern throughout the table that's going to help us find future things. So hopefully you were able to kind of use that and kind of go off of that and understand that a little bit better, kind of the purpose of these equations. So if we go back to our document, there's some practice problems for as well on Khan Academy that's going to kind of help practice a little bit of what those equations are. And then I explain why is writing equations so important. So it's kind of going off the engage section, but maybe as you read through these and kind of watch these videos, maybe you can kind of start grasping the idea of why are they important. And we've kind of already shared some things in this video for you. And again, put down your thoughts, just whatever's on your mind, put it in that section. And the evaluate, we're going to have you complete the Flight of Albatross checkpoint, which is going to kind of have you practice, find the constant and writing equations. And then to this document, we call it Feeding Shrimp. It's going to kind of have you create some more numbers to this table, find the constant and proportionality. But what we want to get to at the end is this equations, right? Creating two equations that represent the relationship between D and F. What equations can you come up with, all right, in this document, which goes back to our learning target. I can create an equation or a proportional relationship from a given table. So again, put your link here or share it with me so that you have it. And then to end all, I express ways did you improve. So back to this lesson and think of ways maybe that you need to improve to this lesson. And be honest in that section as well. So if you have any questions, please let me know. If you're still working on the first unit, I implore you to keep working on that, keep plugging away, and we'll get into this unit that we're on now and kind of work through that as well. If you have any questions, please let me know, and hopefully you enjoyed this lesson from us today. Have a good week.